The night Chidi told Aisha he was a billionaire, she thought he was joking. She even laughed. But when she looked into his eyes and saw how serious he was, her hands started shaking. Aisha never imagined a life full of surprises. Her days were the same. Wake up early, cook for her son, and head to the market to sell tomatoes and peppers. Some days, she made enough to eat. Other days, she didn't. She would just cry and pick herself back up. She had learned to live with what life gave her. Then, Chidi arrived in the village. At first, he was just another customer. He came to her stall every market day, buying tomatoes and chatting with her in his quiet way. He was different from the other men, reserved, hardworking, and kind. While others gossiped, he stayed silent. While others boasted, he helped. Over time, he started walking her home, carrying her heavy basket without being asked. When she finally asked why, he simply said, "Because I want to." The villagers noticed, and soon the whispers started. "Chidi, you are a fine man. Why go for a single mother?" an old man asked him one afternoon. Aisha's heart sank. She knew this would happen. In their village, women like her were seen as unlucky, unwanted. She had heard it all before, how a woman with a child was a burden, how no man should marry someone like her. But Chidi didn't care. He just smiled and said, "I follow who I want." The warnings didn't stop. Aisha can't be a good wife. Single mothers and their drama people shook their heads, some laughing, others waiting for the day Chidi would regret his choice. Aisha wanted to cry, but Chidi held her hand and whispered, "Let them talk. I know what I want." And so, they got married. Aisha believed she had married a poor but good man. They lived in a small house. She cooked with firewood, and he worked on a farm. Life was still tough, but she was happy. Her son was happy, and Chidi, he never complained. Then one evening, Chidi sat her down. "Aisha, I need to tell you something," he said. His face was serious, too serious. Aisha's stomach tightened. She thought maybe he was leaving her. Then he said it. "Aisha, I am a billionaire." Aisha blinked. Then she laughed. "Billionaire? You wear the same shirt every week. What do you mean?" But Chidi didn't laugh. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed her pictures of big houses, expensive cars, news articles with his name. Aisha's hands started shaking. "You're joking." "I'm not." She stood up, her legs unsteady. "Why did you lie to me?" Chidi looked at her, calm as ever. "I wanted to know if you loved me for me, not for my money." Aisha couldn't speak, couldn't think. The man she married was not who she thought he was. And now, her entire life was about to change. Aisha didn't sleep that night. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to Chidi's steady breathing beside her. A billionaire. The words didn't seem real. The man who fetched water from the stream, who ate roasted corn with her under the mango tree, who wore the same faded shirt every Sunday, he was a billionaire? Her mind raced with questions. Why did he choose her? What would happen now? Would he take her away from the only life she knew? Would the village ever look at her the same way again? By morning, she still had no answers. Chidi acted like nothing had changed. He woke up early, made tea, and went outside to feed the goats. Aisha just watched him, confused. Finally, she found her voice. "So, what happens now?" she asked. Chidi wiped his hands on his trousers and smiled. "We moved to the city." News spread fast. By afternoon, the entire village knew. The same people who had mocked Aisha now came knocking on her door, pretending they had always supported her. Women who once whispered behind her back now praised her beauty. Men who never noticed her suddenly called her our wife. "Ah, Aisha, my sister, you too deserve good things," one woman said, squeezing her hands like they were long-lost friends. Another woman, the same one who had warned Chidi against marrying a single mother, now smiled sweetly. "You are lucky, oh, but we always knew you were special." Aisha could barely keep up. Just yesterday, she was the woman nobody wanted. Now, because of Chidi's money, she was important. Chidi watched it all with amusement, but said nothing. That evening, as they packed their things, Aisha sat beside him. "They never cared before," she whispered. "Why do they care now?" Chidi placed his hand over hers. "Money changes people, but it doesn't change us." The city was nothing like the village. Lagos was loud, fast, and full of things Aisha had only seen on TV. Tall buildings, endless cars, people rushing everywhere. Their new home was a mansion bigger than the entire market square. Everything felt strange. The maids treated her like a queen. She had clothes she didn't know how to wear, food she didn't know how to eat, and a husband she suddenly felt she didn't know at all. One evening, as she sat in their massive bedroom, she looked at Chidi and sighed. "I don't belong here." Chidi frowned. "What do you mean?" "I don't fit into this life. I don't know how to act, how to dress. I don't even know how to talk to the people here." Chidi reached for her hand. "You don't have to change, Aisha. I didn't fall in love with a rich woman. I fell in love with you." But Aisha wasn't sure if that was enough. Life as a billionaire's wife wasn't just about luxury. It came with expectations. Women in expensive dresses looked at Aisha like she was a joke. At events, people spoke in English she barely understood. She felt small, out of place. The final straw came at a high society dinner. A wealthy woman leaned in close and said, "So, where did you school?" Aisha hesitated. She had only finished secondary school. Before she could answer, the woman smirked. "Oh, I see." Laughter followed. That night, Aisha cried. "I can't do this, Chidi," she whispered. "I don't belong in your world." Chidi pulled her close. "Then we will build our own world." Aisha didn't leave. Instead, she found her strength. She took English classes, learned business skills, and even started her own company, one that helped single mothers in poor communities. She turned her pain into purpose, and soon the same society that once laughed at her started to respect her. The villagers back home were in shock. Aisha, the woman they once mocked, was now a powerful woman, but she never forgot where she came from. She visited often, helping women like her find their own paths. One day, an old woman from the village looked at her and said, "Aisha, we were wrong about you." Aisha just smiled. Through it all, Chidi never changed. He never tried to make her into someone else. He had chosen her for who she was, and she had finally chosen to believe in herself. Love had brought them together, but respect and understanding had kept them strong. And so, the village girl and the billionaire built a life not of wealth, but of love, trust, and purpose.